You just voted?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
A bit apprehensive.
Why apprehensive?
I'm afraid of the outcome.
It's the first time I've actually voted, which I'm quite ashamed and quite proud to say at the same time, because the first time I felt that compulsion to vote, and I've never really felt that kind of need before, I suppose. With, seeing how the world's changing and seeing how society is changing on a regular basis, and having a child now, that was my motivation to really make my mark today, so quite literally.
I used to live in London before and I never got the chance to vote here, so I'm originally from Northern Ireland, so it was good to feel like I have a real opportunity to vote in something that's so important.
When you think about it, just lucky to have it at all, really. When you walk up and you see the polling station here and you think, wow, we're very lucky to be able to step in and, albeit small, have our say.
What were you thinking about? What was going through your head as you were putting your cross in the box?
Nothing goes through my head. What's in my head, that's what's in my head.
I was thinking I would have liked to have voted for one or two of the other people who are on the list, but I chose not to because sometimes you have to be a little bit tactical about these things.
The thing that was going through my mind is I was just hoping a lot more young people would come out and vote.
I'm a Goldsmith student and everyone's pretty politically charged there, so I don't really feel like people my age are like ignorant to politics and what's going on at the moment. I feel like everyone's really engaging in what's happening because it's really affecting us. Like 0-hour contracts, minimum wage, stuff like that. It's really hard to live, it's hard to afford rent.
There's a preconception where you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about who you're going to vote for, but actually I think as long as we're having this conversation, that's the most important thing, just to be able to understand what your vote can do and what the difference is that you can make as a young person, because it's our future, so it's massively important.
No, I think people are really, really, really engaged this time around, especially a lot of my friends, people that wouldn't even traditionally vote, are now coming out there and saying, like, understanding policies and having a lot to say about it and putting an opinion forward. And yeah.
So do you like living here? Is this a good place to be?
I live anywhere. I like to live anywhere. I don't care. I like everybody.
I love Deptford. It's the part of London I've grown to care about the most. It feels like home.
The change, everything's changed. The community changed, everything has changed. You can't say no other.
Sometimes you live with neighbours, you don't even know their names, so you don't have to force them. In my country, it's a different thing, so they should just engage themselves in community activities, and places where people go and feel better, not feel left out.
I happen to know quite a few people here who've been living in social housing, have been threatened and in some cases actually moved further out, and they've lived here since 1960.
We seem to have a major problem with housing, and where I live right now, they're looking to knock the block down, which I've been living there now for near on 13 years, so it's a bit disappointing. Cheap homes, cheap quality, affordable, but then after a while they fall apart. So who's it affordable to? Is it to those that are buying or to those that are making?
I'm assuming you're not too happy with the way things are going at the moment.
I'm terrified and appalled and shaken to my core that it ever got this far. And I think most people don't realise how bad it is. I mean, literally, I have friends and they're intelligent, aware, and they talk about politics, and then you'll tell them things, factual stuff sometimes, and they'll go wide-eyed like, I've never heard that. And so I think a lot of people just simply don't know what's going on.
What are the real policies or issues that matter to you as an individual?
I think the NHS, really, absolutely the NHS. Like, my mum was really sick recently as well, and obviously she had to feel the brunt of the cuts. But it really resonates with a lot of people, the NHS especially.
I also lived in America for a few years, and I saw what private or a private-dominated system could look like, and it's horrible. It's inhumane. It's disgusting.
Having access to healthcare is what I think is, the fundamental thing that we should all be entitled to, regardless of our income or just anything in life.
I'd hate to be a disabled person that who doesn't have a wealthy family at this stage. I really would.
They're closing centres. The elderly again are being targeted because there's not things for the elderly to do either. We used to have like little clubs that they could go in the daytime and keep themselves occupied and meet people, get them out of their homes so they can actually socialise and see someone. They're being closed, been taken away because there's no funding to meet these things. Which is a crying shame, really, because at the end of the day, they've paid their dues to society, and it's only right that they can actually get something back.
I have to say, I'm on a bit of a knife edge, really, in terms of I need to know what the sort of future relationship is going to be between this country and sort of the European Union. I personally need free access to Europe to be able to go to Europe, see my family there whenever I want to.
So that was the biggest issue for you, Brexit, and
Brexit.
And being
Everybody
consistent.
voted Brexit. Yeah, we had majority voting Brexit, and the person who started the exercise, I believe, should finish it.
The school that I work for is having to cut the number of support staff we have, so there'll be fewer TAs in class next year, which I think might well be dangerous because we work with some difficult children.
At the moment, going to university is a massive privilege. The fees are just ridiculous, and it's not for everyone at the moment. I just think that is absolutely horrific.
My two grandsons are in private school. I don't mind putting an extra for other people to benefit. That's very important. There must be a change. It cannot be, status quo. There must be a change. Too much, very few, 5% on the top, and 95% are suffering. Why should that be?
I mean, I'm all about kind of, just connecting people and celebrating the differences. And I think for young people, they need to see that. I think they need to be a lot more reflection in the media as well of all of our differences and to celebrate them, so they don't grow up feeling as though they are a minority or feeling as though they are weird or different.
Myself, I feel like in London, when you're not a house owner, when you're struggling with the rent, you're automatically in the bottom 50%, and it's hard down here, and it's difficult. I want to see that to change. I want a system based more on what people can do and getting the most out of people rather than what we've got now, which kind of stamps you down.
I think the way this country's going, like, it was great once, and now it's not so much anymore. And it's not due to globalisation, it's to do with the opposite side of things, with people just being so isolationist and looking back on the good old days and thinking, oh yeah, we can get that back, and imperialism. Like, they weren't good old days. The working classes were screwed over. We treated people terribly, and I don't understand why we want to go back to that. It should be progressive. We should be looking towards Scandinavian countries in a lot of Europe and thinking, well, why can't we do that? Why can't we implement them systems? Why do we have to do what we're doing now?
If you woke up tomorrow and you were in charge, you were Prime Minister, what would you do? What would you change?
I think it's a very good question.
Oh, that's a big question you threw to me.
I've never been a Prime Minister.
Why not?
I know, I'm 86.
I would resign immediately and find the nearest qualified candidate and hand the job over. Oh, I don't know.
I'd flood the NHS with the money it needs. I'd make sure the police numbers were brought back up. I would go into the Department of Work and Pensions and ban sanctions outright. For years and years, 30, 40 years after the war, sanctions weren't needed to motivate people to work. I don't think you need to sort of threaten someone with starvation. People want to work, they want to get on, they want to contribute, they don't want to sit around all day doing nothing. So I think that's a evil shambles, that whole idea. So things like that you could fix immediately.
And the thing is it's obvious to see that, let's say, our state decides to invest in like green energy industries. That's going to create a huge amount of jobs for people. Our government can give us jobs. They can make us productive members of society, doing good things for society.
Basically moving companies out of London, making sure we kind of even out the disparity between London and the rest of the country, which in turn, will free up the housing situation a little bit so that everyone isn't concentrated in one place.
I ban private interest in the Houses of Parliament. It's a vocational job. You can't be a police officer and also own a private security firm. That's not going to work, is it? So you shouldn't be able to own a private healthcare firm and be the healthcare minister. You shouldn't be able to have private financial interests when you're in a position of power.
Like there should always be this one MP for the same amount of people, rather than one MP with 500 constituents and then one MP with like 10,000 constituents. They should all have the same number, because in the end it means that 10,000 people's voice is only as strong as 500 people. So it's not fair.
My mum always used to say to me, it's important to say what you mean, even if it doesn't make any difference at all. Sometimes just by making a statement, you change things and you influence people. You have to stand up for what you believe in.
I just want everyone to have a good time. I just want everyone to be able to have enough money to be able to go and do what they want. I'm not looking to be rich for my entire life. I just want to be able to be happy. I want everyone to be happy.
We just have to be friendly. We have to be tolerant. Accommodate each other.
Britain's not Britain, is it, really? It's not what it used to be, put it that way. So let's hope and pray that we can climb back up from where we are, because it is definitely not looking so great.
We're all now fighting amongst ourselves and finding reasons to blame each other, as opposed to looking at the structures within which we live and changing that.
I don't think we're by default people who want to rip each other off. I think we're by default people who want to help each other. But there's this poisonous minority that come in and they really do have a lot of money and a lot of power, and they're using it for ill.
You're having a lot of people that have come from like independent schools, private schools, grammar schools, who are probably quite removed from the community in which we live in, but are not necessarily understanding life for us. And I think until we start seeing a reflection of our community in these parties, that would lead me to be quite dubious about the future, because they need to understand us in order to make a better future for us, and that's us as a community.
We've got to be for everybody, not for the rich or for the poor, the country's got to be run for the country, for the people coming up, the youngsters coming up, who's got a future in front of them. You know what I mean? That's all I can say about it. Yeah.
Things are tough, and we're fed up of working 40-odd hour weeks, commuting all over the place, and living in a studio apartment with single glazing and no central heating. It's too much for us. Yeah, we're out of here. We're going to look for somewhere where we don't have to run to stay still.
Okay, this is like a saying, it always starts off darker before the dawn. Like, I think the next 5 years are going to be tough for all of us. But I think the end outcome of it will be a lot better. We will all have a bright future from it. I genuinely do believe that from this election at least.
So I feel hopeful at not getting bogged down, because it will be what it will be, and the only influence you can have on it is just to be positive, to treat people well, promote kindness, no matter what gets thrown at us, and hope that things turn around.